Hello YouTube. Today I want to talk about being friends with your shadow personality. What do I mean by shadow personality? Shadow personality is all the characteristics that we never want to acquire, but we do have them and we just do not like them, avoid them. We think that they are not deserving of love, or they're just bad, but in fact they are not bad or good, they're just neutral. And I remember I always had this grudge upon my parents because they had some qualities that I highly disapproved of, but it turned out that all of these qualities are my shadow personality. All of these things that I hated about them is actually the things that I hated about myself, and I just couldn't accept it. And when you do not accept your dark side, your bad qualities, it will lead to depression, sadness, self-hatred, and ultimately is not good for your mental health. Because when you accept your good and bad, when you are okay with it, when you're friends with your traits that you think are not very beautiful, then you are at peace with yourself, and it is very important to talk about it more. Because when I realized that all these things that I hate about that I hate in other people are the exact things that I have in myself, and I remembered every case in life where I did have this quality. So I think that when you absolutely stop judging and criticizing any person on this planet, and yourself included, then you become absolutely free, and it is really like and when you also implement knowledge in other spheres, for example, the knowledge of reincarnation and the adventure of our souls. Like right now I'm reading the book called Adventure of a Soul. Maybe it's called like otherwise, but in translation it is called Adventure of a Soul. And it talks about how we have this karma, and if something unjust happens in our lives, it means that we were the criminal in our past life, like we were the cause of this unjust action. For example, if you for example, there's a man who always was very cruel towards his wife when she painted, and he thought that it was very useless to kind of paint, and he broke her brushes. He just didn't uh, let her paint and do, and that was the hobby that she loved. And in the next life he became this artist, but he had no arms. So like, do you see the logic? He became an artist with no arms, so he now feels how it he now knows how it feels to want to paint but not being able to, because he actually did not let his wife paint, and now he cannot paint, but like not because someone doesn't let him, but because he literally has no arms. So when you start reading stories like that, when you start investigating this in this concept, in philosophy like that, I highly believe that there is no death and our souls are forever, like they live forever, and we help God to kind of uh, um, feel love in, like, not only we can actually like feel with our like physical bodies, and it's just like whole like experiment with, you know, learning how to accept everything, learning how to see perfection in all imperfections. um and actually, like, the things that I hated are like infantilism, using your physical advantage towards people who are weaker, um just be not developing. And like, I always thought as my that my parents are like, they just cannot change, like they don't change. And I was the person who loves, like, I'm the person who loves everything new and loves change, and is always like is always trying to evolve and develop. And I looked at my parents, and they were actually like the opposite of me. And I always wondered, like, why are we so opposite? I always wondered, um we're so different, like how, why I it's actually funny because they are the portrait of my shadow personality, all the traits that I don't accept in myself and I think that are bad or whatever. But if you see like further, you can see that actually you have all these traits, but you kind of reject them and think they're bad. But for example, when you think aggression is bad, it's actually not bad. Sometimes aggression is needed in order to pursue your dreams, in order to create your boundaries, in order to say no and to protect yourself. Aggression is a very useful emotion, and when you kind of reject it, you miss out on every good that was in this feeling. For example, jealousy. When you're jealous of someone's success, it's just should be like a motivator for you to kind of go for it. And there was a book called NLP. It's like psychological book, but it was like very fun to read because it was like 365 advice for every day of the year. And she said that actually jealousy is not that bad. Jealousy is the force and that drives us to kind of get the thing that we're jealous of. For example, it can be a good indicator of what you want. For example, if I see something and I'm jealous of it, that actually means that I just want it. And it is good thing to actually know what you want. So sometimes I am like lazy and I am not developing, and I am just want to just lay in bed and watch Netflix, and I accept it. And as soon as you accept it, it stops bothering you and it stops kind of being the cause of your pain because it's kind of like a resolved problem. When you accept something, when you accept pain, it stops hurting. When you accept your jealousy, you're kind of stop being as jealous. You kind of use it just as admiration and motivation, you know? And when you accept your insecurities, which was a very like difficult thing for me, I honestly thought about it, and I realized that I actually have this insecurity of some person leaving me. Like some person that I love sees something imperfect in me, something bad or something not beautiful, like ugly, and he leaves because of that. And that was my huge insecurity because I was always like afraid of losing the person that I love because I'm not enough, I'm not good enough. And then I realized actually it's just not worth it because people don't stay because you're perfect, and people don't leave because you have some imperfections. Sometimes people love just because they have this soul connection, and sometimes people they love because they just love you and they don't care about your imperfections. And I was always having this fear of everyone else like pointing at me and laughing at me. I don't know, I always like these two fears, someone leaving and like laughing at me, and the biggest fear of mine is that someone I love actually laughs at me, at my some insecurities, or like um, like also there's a there's shadow characteristic that I also denied for the longest time, is dependence. So I was the always the girl who like kind of hated the dependency. Like for example, I used to listen to love songs and they're like, I can't live without you, I am nothing without you, who I am without you, and I'm like and I was like irritated by this message that of like it's clear dependence, and codependency is not like good, but if you accept it, it's like you just need to accept your dependence. And I realized that I was dependent on someone, and it's like I tell myself, okay, I'm dependent, and this is me being human, and it is okay to be dependent. um it's not like I'm gonna die without this person, but it's just like this attachment that I just hated. And this dependency was actually my shadow personality that irritated, and um I just avoided it, and I have this fear of a failed relationship. Actually, I would always think that if I have a failed relationship, if I break up with someone, then I'm not wise enough and I didn't use my wisdom and knowledge to avoid it, and I wasted my time. But there's no such thing as wasting your time, and everything is actually as planned, and our souls actually want this experience. So you should never blame yourself, you should never feel shame. But if you feel shame, you should accept it and be in peace with it. Like if you feel this negative emotions, you should just accept them and don't view them as negative, and just view them as like a lesson that your soul is trying to teach you. So that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you understood some insights, or just thought about it for a minute. And actually, my recommendation is for you to actually sit and write all the characteristics that you do not accept in yourself and you do not accept in others, and you kind of feel like they're bad or negative, or just not human. Like we have this version of ourselves that we think is the best version of ourselves, and it doesn't have all this like shadow personality traits, but actually like list them and then watch the qualities that you need to kind of make friends with, and the qualities that you need to accept in order to be the real like best version of yourself.